Hi, my name is James Kraft, and I'm the co-founder of the Novus Project. I co-founded the Novus Project with my wife, Terry, and we have a heart and passion to help families in our world today. We are dealing with a generation that is facing an epidemic with media, and we see just some strong statistics showing that on average, a student's spending about 9 hours a day on some form of media, and 70% of those students are hiding their online habits from their parents. And so we understand that this is a real issue impacting a generation, but not just the younger generation, but generations and the family unit itself. And so I'm very thankful for today. I have my dear friend Nancy Houston with me.
Hello, James.
We've known each other for some years now, and she is a therapist, but also she's an author and a speaker and a real specialized therapist as well. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what your focus is.
Okay, I'd be glad to. So I became a sex therapist. It's kind of my specialty besides some other things that I do. And the reason I became a sex therapist is because years ago, when I first just started practicing as a normal therapist, right? Yeah. My office started filling up just with hurting people, like people really seeking answers and solutions, and their marriages weren't working, their relationships weren't working, maybe they were struggling personally. They didn't know how to talk to their kids about this topic. And so I just felt really impressed, like people need help in this area. And so I wanted to help them because I know what a struggle this can be for folks.
Yeah.
And so, I got a certification as a sex therapist and have been doing a lot of work in that area ever since.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
And I know we work together with some people, and I know that we're going to talk about your book in a little bit because I want everybody to find out about that because it's a great resource that it is. Yeah. But I know our focus today, we want to look at how media is impacting young ones, adolescents, and I just threw out some statistics. That's pretty much the teenage years of how much, but on average, a younger one's adolescence is around 7 hours a day, 6 to 7. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I know that you really have focused a lot of your attention on attachment. And then how does that work with a child's development at a young age, developing an attachment with family and parents? And I know that we have a lot of broken homes, so moms and dad, they're divorced or they're working, you got two working parents. And so how does that impact a child in their development? And what are some things that we can look at? It's like, how can we help students or help children in their development?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I want all of us to remember. And first of all, I'm a parent and I'm a grandparent. So I understand that kids can be demanding.
Yeah.
And they can take up a lot of your energy. And I also understand that sometimes you just need to cook a meal, and so you park the kids in front
of a TV.
In front of the TV or
or
video.
A tablet. Or
right? And I totally get that, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think we're damaging our kids or harming them. But it's just when videos and TV and media become their babysitter.
Yeah.
And that's becoming their primary interaction. It's so harmful to their brains because, we have to remember that our children are born with very primal brains.
Yeah.
And we as parents have this amazing opportunity to shape and form our children into the kind of human beings that we want them to be. And all human beings need a lot of containment, and they need a lot of structure.
Yeah.
And they need a lot of human interaction. And so the more human interaction we can give our children, the better. Because we're teaching them social skills. We're teaching them how to interact with others. I think we've all got to think deeply about what kind of adult do I want this child, this little person to become. And then move towards that goal of what we want them to be like. And I know for my husband and I, one of the things we wanted is we want other people to enjoy being around our children.
Yeah.
And so when we aren't enjoying them, we need to do something about that because we are shaping them. And so it required a lot of patience and time and discipline and just investing in these little lives. And again, I know it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy being a parent, but I think if we do the work on the front end, there'll be less work on the back side, when they get to be older.
Yeah.
And so the investment you make when they're little, it is so worth it, because those first 5 to 7 years, I mean, I think we're always shaping our children. Even if your kid's 30, you can still have influence. You can still go back and do some repair work. Like, let's say, wow, I really missed that. But, you know, those first 5 to 7 years, we are teaching our children about attachment. How do we be close to other human beings? How do we share ourselves? How do we talk? How do we communicate? How do we open up?
Yeah.
And if we don't do that work when they're young, I'm telling you, I know people I work with who have like social anxiety,
Right.
because their parents didn't interact with them, or their parents were really rigid.
Yeah.
You know, we aren't doing our children any favors when we're rigid or religious, or we have no grace for them.
Right.
You know, we've just got to interact with our children in a way that they enjoy it.
Right. Well, let's put that into practical terms.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What is healthy attachment with your child?
Well, so, you know, basically I like to boil it down to its simplest terms. So some people, what we want is we want our children to have that earned, secure attachment versus being anxious about attachment. And kids really get anxious about attachment when mom and dad are sometimes available, sometimes they're not available. Or mom is like loving and warm one day, and then the next day she's not even present.
Yeah.
Or she's really moody. So, you know, or dad is like gone for days on end, or he comes home and he parks himself in front of, you know, ESPN and isn't present. I mean, a lot of times in parenting, we can be there, but if we are not emotionally, relationally present with our children, it's like we're emotionally absent, and our kids learn that, oh, this attachment thing, sometimes it's scary, and so it causes me a lot of anxiety. Or kids can become really avoidant about attachment because, again, they learn that, well, my parents aren't here, so I'm just learning to avoid attachment.
Right.
And then they grow up to be these people who are either really anxious or they just avoid relationships. Or their mate will say to them, hey, it's like nobody's home.
Right.
Could you check in? Could you be here? But that child just learned to escape and not be present.
So they had no
No.
connection with anybody growing up. How are they going to connect with somebody
That's right.
when they get into a relationship?
And so this attachment thing is huge. As a matter of fact, with all the marriage therapy I do, first thing I do is like, tell me about how attachment went in childhood.
Yeah.
And honestly, for a lot of my clients, attachment did not go great. And so I think we parents need to just like call a time out with ourselves and go, man, I am shaping this person for the capacity to either be attached or basically not be attached. And I think, you know, when we see these kids, like the school shootings we see, oftentimes these are kids who just, they aren't attached. And when we aren't attached, it's way, you know, we can just kind of remove ourselves from harming another human being because it's like no big deal.
So there's no value for
No, we don't, we've taught them how to not value other humans by not valuing relationships. And again, all children need desperately, oh my goodness, if we knew how desperately we humans need attachment. And all the neuroscience is now saying that we adults need attachment as desperately as infants do. And so these little people that are ours to raise, they are desperate for attachment. They're desperate for connection. They are desperate for our attention. They're desperate for us to be patient with them and look them in the eyes. You know, when I was raising our 4 sons, I would either get down on their level so I could go eye to eye, or I'd pick them up and put them on the counter with me so I could go eye to eye, and just always doing that kind of connecting with them. Like, I see you. I am present with you. I want to know you. I want to understand you. You know, you're screaming and kicking right now and you're very unhappy. Help me to understand what's happening inside of you. You know?
That's huge.
It really is.